Hey guys, it's Spilly and welcome back to Spill Sesh. Today we're talking about the fact that David Dobrik addressed Jeff Wittek and everything going on in his latest podcast episode titled Discussing What Happened. He sat down with Natalie and Jason and they all unpacked everything that has gone down in the last 2 years with Jeff. And oh my goodness, you guys, I was not expecting this because David hardly ever addresses anything regarding him getting called out or any type of situation that he has been in. He doesn't really address it, but let's get into what he said in this near hour-long podcast. David starts by saying he didn't even know where to begin, and it's hard for him to talk about things going on in his personal life or his feelings in his videos or his podcast. He said he likes when things are lighthearted, including movies, and he wants to make people happy. He doesn't want to talk about anything serious or things that make him sad. He says that he honestly is scared to open up about things going on in his life, and he feels like that's not why people come to watch his videos or listen to his podcast. It's a fun place for people. They think they're coming for laughs and fun stuff, but this is something that's very serious. And Jason was trying to get him more comfortable with the idea of opening up and talking about his personal life and what has been going on, saying this was a long time coming now and this conversation needed to happen. He needed to talk about this situation. David says in the last year he's changed as a person, and part of the person that he used to be was literally shot, he felt in his mind. And Jason says in the last year, David hasn't been the same person since his cancellation.
I mean, the people should know, the people that love you and support you, they should know that you've been going through it the last year and, you haven't been the same.
David feels like he hasn't been authentic with his audience, and he just needs to talk about how these past 2 years have been really weighing on him. He says there's so much to say because they truly have been the worst years of his life.
The last 2 years especially. Do you know I got canceled?
Yeah, I did too.
No.
And Jason brings up Jeff, saying they should talk about him.
Recently, our friend Jeff Wittek, posted some stuff about me, just about the accident and about how things have been handled. And
you didn't call him on his surgery,
yeah,
stuff like that.
And I think, I think there's things that I haven't really spoken about. I've never spoken about the surgery or the incident in general.
Jason says that they even asked Jeff to come onto the podcast and talk about it with him, but he didn't want to join them. David felt like talking about it when Jeff wasn't in the room didn't feel right, but he didn't want to be there. He says the Jeff situation is the worst. He says that day is the worst day and the worst thing that's ever happened to him. He said that he would do anything to take that day back. He said he was shaking just talking about it and was getting emotional, clearly. He wished it was him up there. He says it was an accident. There was never a world where he would have ever wanted anything bad like that to happen to Jeff or anyone. He then brings up the reason why Jeff has been so upset at him. And in Jeff's videos that he's been making on Jeff FM, he says that it all boils down to the fact that David was recently interviewed for a documentary, which is the Casey Neistat documentary called Under the Influence that is going to be premiering at South by Southwest on Saturday. And when filming for this documentary, David says that the idea to swing around on the excavator was Jeff's idea. And Jeff did not like that David said that. And so he made those videos and made all those posts talking about David, making fun of David and revealing that David hasn't been paying for his medical bills and that he hasn't heard from him after his last surgery, saying all this stuff, which David is addressing in this video. He says that Jeff has been upset with him because he said something in a interview that he told Jeff that he would keep between the two of them, and that was a secret that was never going to get out, and that David broke that promise. He goes into just explaining the accident and what happened that day. Jason explains that he had to go to the bathroom at that point in the day, so he drove away after seeing what they were doing, how they were going to be filming, and the excavator was going really slow, and he says it eats him up that he wasn't there at the time of the accident because he doesn't know if he could have said anything like, I don't know about this, you guys.
Susie texted me and said, you guys were at Utah Valley Hospital. And
Oh, no, you weren't there.
Yeah, Jason wasn't even there.
I wasn't even there. And that eats me up. That eats me up that I wasn't there.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would have done because I feel like, me and Matt King are always the ones that are like, hang on, let's wait.
Yeah.
Natalie begins to say that her, Jeff, and Todd had been on this high from skydiving a bunch, and Jeff thought that them just wakeboarding off the excavator wasn't crazy, you know, compared to what they had been doing.
Jeff was like, oh, Todd thinks he's so cool, like he's just like wakeboarding or whatever, and like because he was like, we had just done all these things, we had just jumped out of a plane like a million bajillion times, now we're just like hanging on to like a wakeboard, and there's like so many more other cooler things that could be done. And so I think that like there was just this air of like everyone was trying to like have fun and like do cool things.
David then says that 15 minutes before the accident, Jeff told David to check his DMs and watch a video. And this video that Jeff DM'd him was a video that 50 Cent had posted on his Instagram, and it is a guy getting swung from an excavator. The DM from Jeff read that he wanted to recreate it.
I remember Jeff told me to check my DMs, and it was a video that he found like 15 minutes before the accident that somebody posted, and he said, let's recreate this. And it was a guy swinging from an excavator and flying off. I didn't see that DM till the hospital, and he jokes, he's like, I didn't mean literally, haha, like he joked. That was the first time I saw the DM. That was the first time I opened it.
The thing about this that confuses me is David said he had this excavator stunt planned for a while. So to my understanding, if I'm hearing him correctly, he's saying that the plan was for the Vlog Squad members to just wakeboard, holding onto the rope and then getting spun around, nothing more. But Jeff saw this video that 50 Cent posted on Instagram that day, and 15 minutes after seeing this video was like, I want to do this, and then decided that he wanted to swing from the rope, not just wakeboard from the rope. David even shows the DM from Jeff, and it was recorded within 2 hours of having received it, so he must have known he needed this as some sort of proof while they were in the hospital that it was not his sole idea to have Jeff swing, like it wasn't on purpose or something, that Jeff did agree to do this. He says he didn't even see this video, though, that Jeff had DM'd him until after the accident. Now, I need a lawyer to go over this whole thing because this being added to the timeline of events is pretty insane and a little hard to process, and it is kind of confusing. I do have questions because David says he didn't see the DM until after Jeff got hurt and they were in the hospital, which of course could be true, but it was sent before the accident, so that looks really bad. David then says Jeff made him promise nobody would ever know this was his idea, and that recently he broke that promise because when he was interviewed for the documentary, he said that it was Jeff's idea to do that stunt.
And then he asked, he's like, can you promise me one thing? And I said, what? And he's like, can you just promise that no one ever knows that this was my idea? That's the promise I broke recently.
He says that he was okay with keeping the secret about the DM, but then he started to see comments of people saying he forced his friends to do the stunt and it was on purpose what happened to Jeff, and he felt like he needed to come clean that it wasn't all him.
This is not what happened. It was a combined decision we made, and it was a complete accident. And I'm so sorry that accident happened, but it did, and there's no going back from that. Like, there's nothing we can do.
And he says he didn't know why that bothered Jeff so much that information would be out there of it being his idea, because at the end of the day, he was the one driving it. He was controlling it.
I was the one driving it. It was my video. I was the one sitting there. It's clear as day. I am the one controlling the thing. He got hurt because I was driving. That's it. And I know that. And like I said, any chance I would get, I would take that back. Any chance I would get.
Jason says that it was a pride thing and that he didn't want that information out there because of that. Then David gets a little heated about Jeff and what he's been saying lately, saying he wished that he was a little bit more truthful.
So there's some things that I wish Jeff was a little bit more truthful on, but given the circumstance, it's so hard because he's hurt. So that's why I hate talking about this, because he is a victim.
He never wanted Jeff to hide the accident. He says that they were following his lead as to when he wanted to share his story. He talks a little bit about the documentary that Jeff did on his channel, saying things got really weird between them and their relationship while filming this documentary.
And one of his guys that works with him went up to Taylor and was like, we really want to make David cry in this piece. We really want him to know what he's done. And there was more of what he said to Taylor, but that was kind of the thing that resonated with me the most. And that's where I started to feel like, oh, what's going on here? Like, someone's not being transparent with me here. Like, I almost feel like I'm being pushed into a corner. That made me feel really like uncomfortable and scared.
He said that it was weird talking to Jeff because he didn't know what Jeff needed from him communication wise. He wouldn't know if Jeff wanted to see him or not because Jeff would be telling people in the vlog squad, when I see David, I'm gonna beat him up. So he didn't know what to do. He felt like he was associated with something so negative in Jeff's life that he didn't know if being in his life was actually good or not. Jason says that some of the things Jeff is mad at David for are valid, as Jeff has vented to him saying David booked a Hawaii trip the day of one of his eye surgeries, and David says that that surgery came up last minute, and Jeff says that his credit is now messed up because of his medical bills not getting paid, and David wanted to explain this much further.
And in terms of his like medical payments, I don't love the fact that he's going around saying I don't pay for surgeries. Like, that hurts. Like, I want to help him. I really truly do. Yeah. And like, he still has my word. Like, I told him that I pay for a surgery. He can still, and the reason we haven't been paying for a surgery, I don't know if it's his assistant's fault or Jeff just told him to back off from us, but like, Natalie has asked multiple times, like, loop us into all these surgeries, and we're just not getting looped into anything. And then we're blindsided when he goes to another surgery, and then he'll like come out and be like his most recent surgery, I didn't know that he had a surgery until he unfollowed me on Instagram. And that's because, you know, it's a two-way street. We can be like, when's your next surgery? But also, no one's looping us into what we need to be paying for. And to this day, like, I'm still keeping my word. Like, I want him to send me whatever he needs me to pay for. Like, I will pay for it.
David says that at the end of the day, nothing can fix what happened, and that's what sucks. It can't be changed. He says he wishes they could both approach moving forward and communicating about this better. Jason says he thinks Jeff will watch this and appreciate this, which I really don't think so. David then addressed the roast of Bryce Hall and says Jeff only said one joke about him, and it was about him being gay. He wasn't requesting anything being taken out of Jeff's set, nothing like that. So none of the jokes that SeatGeek apparently wanted removed from Jeff's set were about David. He ends the podcast by saying he is so deeply sorry for the situation and will live with this forever, and he does want to talk about his feelings more on his podcast and open up because he feels like it is important, and you know, there should be a change and he should be a little bit more authentic with things that are going on in his life. And I definitely want to know what you guys think about what David has to say about this, because there is a lot. I mean, seriously, this was a lot of information. I will let you guys know if anything happens further between these two. I love you guys so much, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye, guys.